Hey guys, welcome back to Homestead Prepping and Survival. Today I want to talk a little bit about an EMP. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's an electromagnetic pulse. It can be generated a lot of different ways. Comes from the sun in the form of solar flares or coronal mass ejections. It's happened before and it will happen again. So anyway, another way it can be made is by a nuclear or atomic detonation. And most people think, okay, nuclear bomb, I'm not going to survive, but that's not entirely true. If nuclear detonation happened above the atmosphere, our atmosphere is what protects us from radiation and all of those things that come along with it. So if a nuclear bomb was to go off 100, 200 miles up, 300 miles up above the atmosphere, above the surface of the planet, then the atmosphere would protect us from that radiation and all the harmful things that come out of it. But one thing that happens is while those electrons and neutrons and things are traveling through the atmosphere, they create an electrical charge, and that's called an electromagnetic pulse. And the reason they call it a pulse because it's not a sustained charge. It happens in milliseconds. So what happens is, just like if you were to take jumper cable wires and touch them together, it would spark. Well, if you held that there, it's going to heat that jumper cable up to the point that it either melts or destroys the battery, and the battery could actually explode. But that's a whole different point. The point is the electricity that's traveling through there would destroy things. So if you take a circuit board, for example, and you've seen circuit boards where all the fine little lines on that board go, and they're just very tiny spaces in between them. You can't even see that on my finger, but little bitty spaces between the circuit board circuitry on there. It doesn't take a lot for it to jump from one to the next and cause it to short out and burn out. Or the resistors and diodes and amplifiers and all of those things on that board, they are very susceptible to electricity. So an EMP would easily fry a circuit board. So what would happen if we were hit with an EMP, whether it be from the sun or from a nuclear bomb, from an enemy country or whatever? It doesn't have to hit the ground. Yeah, if it hit the ground, you're still going to have it, but an EMP is a line of sight weapon. So as you know, the earth being round, if you set one off right here, the blast radius is going to be terrible, but the EMP is going to travel in a straight line from where it originated. So eventually it's going to go over the top of things because of the earth's shape and or hit into ground and things like that. So it's a line of sight weapon. It has to be able to, straight to whatever it's going to do. So if you set an EMP off really high up, it's got the potential to do catastrophic damage. So what I want to talk to you today is a little bit about how to protect things from an EMP. Now, I've showed you how to take a manila envelope, a padded envelope, and cover it with the foil tape and put things inside. And what that does is it gives you a padded layer between the foil covering and whatever's inside the bag. If you seal it up, it's completely enclosed in that metal and it protects it. So I'm going to show you some things, and we'll go back out to the barn and into my battery EMP room out here, and I'm going to show you things that I've done to help hopefully protect things in case of an EMP. So anyway, guys, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, share the channel when you can, hit that notification bell. It always helps me tremendously, and hit the thumbs up if you can. If you value the information that I share, it really helps me grow this channel. So we're going to get into the rest of the video, and for any questions and things like that, please, you know how to do it. Go to the About Me page, hit me up that way through the email or whatever, and I'll respond to anything that needs a response. And like I say, I'm here for those that need me. So thank y'all. Enjoy. All right, so I know you've seen most of this building, and this needs a lot of straightening up, cleaning up. But anyway, I just wanted to show y'all some things that I have stored, and the reason I have them stored. So this little motor right here, it's just a little 1.5 horse, but what I've got it for is to drive this one-wire alternator, and it's a backup way for me to charge my battery bank just in case something happened and I couldn't, get enough power out of my solar. But I've already got an alternator with a 6-horse motor up there in the EMP room on the back of the house. But if something happens to where that one's no longer any good, I've got a backup motor and alternator, so that's another way to charge my battery bank. But the purpose of this video was to talk about EMP protection. So I'm going to just scan through the room. I'm going to show y'all. I need to do some repairs, like my insulation's starting to sag a little bit up there, so I need to get up and fix that. You see it's got a roof vent, so lets the heat out pretty well, but I've insulated all of that, and all of the walls don't have covering over them, but the insulation is what was most important. So we got that done, and I've got junk everywhere. Y'all know that. You've seen all the food side. But, this tote here is, you can't see in there, but it's full of CB radios and antennas and linears, which is an amplifier for a CB, and ham radios, and, oh my goodness, what else? The little weather radio that's wrapped in the foil bag there. So it's EMP protected inside this metal building. And the reason I was showing you this is, I've got a window unit in there that runs off of this digital thermostat here. So you can get off at Amazon, and it keeps the building from getting above, temp I want it set to. And then I switch it to the heat mode in the wintertime, and I plug up a little electric heater, and it keeps the building from getting below the temperature I've got it set for. In this case, I've got this building set for 45 degrees. I don't want it below that. And because heat rises, cold air falls, and I've got food stored down low here, but I've got canned goods up there, and I'm actually going to take them down because they used to be down here. But I want to minimize the climate temperature rise and fall on food store as much as possible. So anyway, the window unit I put through the metal wall. I ordered this building. It's it's not that big. I'm gonna have the phone right at the door, so it's not that big. It's a 10 by 16 with lofts on both sides, so it's a lofted barn. And I've got a lot of stuff stored up top and all I didn't show in the other video. But anyway, the point of this being, it's a solid metal building. I didn't get wood siding. I didn't get any of that stuff. It is completely wrapped with metal. And I know you probably can't see it. I'm going to try to zoom in right here. You probably can't tell. But basically, it has metal screen wire over the ridge port up top so that vent can come through, but insects can't. But the reason I'm talking about the metal screen wire is an electromagnetic pulse, or an EMP, cannot travel through metal. It hits metal and travels around it. So everything in this building, if it was completely sealed off, would be 100% protected from an EMP. As long as whatever you're protecting is not touching the metal on the outside. So, of course, if you've got electricity in a building like I do here, you're going to have an electrical wire that's going to come into the building and then spread throughout the building for everywhere you want power. I don't know how many receptacles I've got in here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 receptacles in here, plus there's another one I don't think I counted, so that'd be 8. And over by the light switch is 9. So I've got 9 power sources in here. So that wire from outside comes in and goes to those joints. And the reason I'm bringing that up, because an EMP is going to travel down that wire, or could travel down that wire. So by bringing wire into this metal building, I'm creating a chance that the EMP could come through and travel down this wire. So the rule with the EMP is basically, for every 1/4 inch of opening, you need 1 inch of travel. So if you've got a solid piece of metal and you drill a 1/4 inch hole through it, if that metal hole that you drilled is at least 1 inch deep, then the EMP will be diminished to where it's not going to harm anything by the time it comes out the other side. Of course, in a thin metal building, you don't get that. So you would have to create that metal travel distance from the hole where the wire comes through, and then it can still come through the wire. So it's not 100% EMP protected. But if you can put it inside a building like this and do like I've done, and then you take the electronics and like that weather radio down there, it's a hand crank radio with run off batteries, or you can wind it up, and the extra CB radios and ham radios and linears and all that stuff. If you put that stuff in a protective enclosure inside of this metal building, then you can just about guarantee that everything you've got in here will be protected. So even if an EMP hit, you would still have things that could work. As long as you have electricity, then you would be able to use that equipment. So with that being said, I've got that upright freezer back there, and of course y'all have seen the inside of it. I store a lot of seeds in the bottom. I've got I buy chicken by the 40-pound case when I can, and I bag it up in the Ziploc bags and put it in here on the shelf. It hadn't changed since the last time I showed it. Then I buy the green beans by the bushel. I bought a couple of those and bagged them up and put them in here. Snapped some, left some whole. And then of course there's some seasonings and stuff here. And before I came into this building today, I was actually up at my other building looking at the chest freezer that's in there, and looking to see what all's in there. And I've got a whole bunch of sausage seasoning. So for you grinding up your deer, your pigs, or whatever, and you want to make sausage, I've got about, I don't know, 30 pounds of sausage seasoning up there or something. And, you know, and each pound makes so many pounds of sausage for a pound of meat. So I've got enough sausage seasoning to last a very long time, and it's in the freezer so it'll store longer. So EMP protection is critical if you want to store things long term and be able to use it. So like I was showing y'all in the other video with emergency lighting, you know, 12-volt light bulb. Here's another one that I've got stored in here. And then I've got some solar lights. Those still work, that are stored in here so that they're protected. If something happens, I would have at least some other type of light source. So just kind of get your gears thinking. You know, I keep my air compressor in here because it's convenient, but it, you know, it really, the motor on it's electric, so it could have some adverse effects to that motor if an EMP was to hit it. It has a capacitor. The capacitor is nothing, as far as it's $3 and something to replace it, or $5. But it's in here just because of the location on my property where I need the air. So I'm going to pause this here. I know it's got a little bit long, but I'm going to go up and I'm going to show you some things that are in what I call my EMP room on the back of the house, and why I did things the way I did. All right, so I'm going to start on the outside of this little room I built on the back of the house. I did not go through the exterior of the house. This is added on the back, concrete slab, so that I can get my solar power panels coming in to here and all of that. Well, if you notice, it's got a steel door, which I never put a deadbolt in, and I'm not trying to keep, you know, the average person out. As the old folks say, a lock only keeps an honest person out. So, but it's a metal door. So that helps it be EMP protected. And then inside, when I built this room, it is completely lined, if you can see the top, with the foam board with the foil on one side. And I know that foil is thin, but it doesn't take a lot to divert that EMP. All the seams are taped with foil tape. Every hole has been taped and sealed. Where the power wires come through from the attic of the house into here, you'll see that I've got it wrapped with the foil tape. And I know the power could travel down those wires, but I've got it sealed up as best as I can without having some type of EMP arrestor in the system. So this entire room, all the way around, has that foil barrier. And then when I came to the door jamb, if I slow down, I carried it with foil tape from the walls all the way around to the door jamb. And if you notice on your doors, you've got a fiber seal. It's not metallic. So what I did is I took the foil tape and I folded it back to itself so it's not sticky, and left a little bit sticking out and stuck over. So when this metal door closes, it pushes on that seal. And so I've got metal inside traveling across that metal door and then back around to the inside to where it pushes on this metal seal, so that I've still got a good weather seal, but I've got a metal over it so that electricity has a place to go. Killing ladybugs, excuse me. Daggum things are terrible. But anyway, so I've made this room as EMP proof as possible, with the exception the wire does come through that one place up there. So it could fry my charge controllers, which I'll zoom in and show you. They are 30 amp charge controllers. And that's the way I've got them mounted. So if I flip the phone, it's just going to make the screen small. But so I've got them mounted up there. They monitor the battery, so I can come to like this one, press the button, and it's going to show me the charge that's coming in. So I can do the same thing on this one. So it's an analog charge controller. See how it lit up? So these are digital. So I went with one of each on purpose so that I can compare to each other. And it goes from the solar panels into these charge controllers, and then it follows the charge controllers down this wire here and runs down and ties into the battery that are in parallel, because I'm running a 12-volt system. Now these batteries weigh 176 pounds apiece. They are very heavy. They're 255 amp hour batteries, and there's 5 of them. So I've got roughly 1,300 amp hours of power there. And then it leaves the battery bank and goes through I've got it fused, so if it overheats or surges or whatever, it'll blow this fuse through a heavy duty connect link up to the inverter that I'm using right now, which is this one. Is second one I ever bought, but it's back then they were $550. You can get them much cheaper now. But and then out 110, it follows that wire, goes through the wall, and there's a receptacle inside my utility room there that's on that wire. So I can plug anything into that receptacle, and it feeds power from this inverter to whatever's plugged in. Now, I've also got it set up that goes from that receptacle to an automatic transfer switch inside. So I'll go inside and show you that. Okay, I know my room is a mess. I redid my panel box, straightened out all the wiring, and I haven't put the cover back on, but I've got it turned off right now. So that transfer switch right there, there's a switch on top that turned it on. You see, my power just switched to my off-grid power. So now I'm going to flip it back off. So you saw this light dim a little bit, but it stayed on, and that's primarily because I'm having inverter issues. So the power comes from inside. I actually took the receptacle out, goes straight into that automatic transfer switch, and then it comes out that transfer switch into a breaker in my panel box that feeds both sides, that stays off. And let me see, I got another base station there and meter and all that, but anyway, let me turn this around. So what it does is it allows me to be able to run off of my off-grid power. All right, there we go. So if I'm running on my off-grid power, that automatic transfer switch, what it will automatically, if my batteries get below a certain level, it monitors the charge on the batteries. If my batteries get below 11 volts or 10.7, I can't remember what I've got it set for, but if it gets below that voltage, because I'm using too much power, or I've used it too long, you know, not enough charge, then it will automatically switch back to grid power, so nothing in my house goes out. And you know how your power blinks and all your clocks flash and so on? That transfer switch transfers power so fast my clocks don't even blink. Nothing turns off, nothing has to boot back up. It switches in about 3/100ths of a millisecond. So it moves pretty, it transfers pretty fast. And that just gives me the ability to be able to switch to my off-grid power and run on it and have the backup, and my backup be the grid. So in this case, if, sorry, I'm trying to get the camera right. In this case, if the EMP had hit and there was no grid power, then I would run on my solar for as long as it would let me while I'm setting up my other backup, which would be my generator. So if I hook the generator up and it's running and the batteries get weak, it's going to automatically switch over. The thing is, I don't have the switch to crank the generator because it's not an electric start. I used to have one that way. And so it won't crank the generator for me, but it will switch to grid power when the batteries get weak. Keeps you from damaging your batteries. So an EMP can cause a whole lot of problems, and you have to research and dig and learn through what you can and can't do as far as to have things after crap hits the fan. Now, do I have a professionally installed system and a fancy, all that good stuff? Yeah, I'm moving around and the sun's killing me, or the sun's actually already down. So I don't have a professionally installed system. I did pay a guy to help me mount my solar panels and run the wire and all that stuff and do the rest originally, and I've made a lot of improvements to it since that point. So you don't have to start out with a $10 or $20 or $30,000 system. You can do this yourself with just a little bit of research on how you want and what you want to supply. So in my case, when I built this house, I designed it to run as efficiently as possible, and I put as many things that were 120 volts in it as I could, or I could afford at the time. So I actually had an electric stove. It was 240, so I changed it to gas. So it has a 120 volt side. It runs the digital electronics and all, but my stove will still run when the grid is down because it's gas. I can light it, you know, with a lighter or whatever. My well is 240 volts, and I actually have been thinking for years about changing that well to 110 volts. And the thing is, a 110 volt well pump draws more amperage than a 240 volt well pump. So what it's going to cost me to pull that well and change that pump out is going to cost me $1,000, $1,500, maybe $2,000 to do that. Well, I can buy the inverter that I want for much less than $1,500 or $2,000. The one I've been looking at is actually about $1,000, but it's a 240. I gotta scratch my other hand. It's a 240 volt inverter running off of 12 volt power. So it will run the entire property, because, and the reason I say that is because off the 120 volt inverters that I've got, I can run every single thing on my property except for 3 things. The electronics on the stove, they're too sensitive, they don't like it. The well, because it's 240, and my dryer, because it's still 240. Everything else on my property is 120 volt. My water heater, everything is 120 volts. So I can literally switch to my off-grid power and run every single thing on here except for my well. And that's why, which I've already flipped the camera and I can again, is that's why, I'm gonna see if I can do it this way. I've got those 275 gallon totes over there that are food grade. Those had soybean oil in them, so they are food grade. I'm planning on building a water tower and putting both of those up there and gravity feeding water to the house. So once I've got them full, I'll have 550 gallons of water 15 to 20 feet up, and I will gravity feed water to the house. And I've got a 12 volt pump. I've already got it. It's on demand, so it comes on when pressure drops to increase the pressure, and it turns off when the pressure is back up. So I've already got that pump, and I've got my tanks. What I've got to do is get the holes dug to stand them poles up, get them cut off to the same height, and frame out and build the room that's going to hold 550 gallons, which is a ton of weight. Actually, it's more than a ton. A ton's 2,000 pounds. So a gallon of water weighs about 8.3 pounds times 550, plus the weight of the containers, plus the weight of the building up there that's going to be up. It's going to weigh a lot. It's got to be built extra beefy, is what I call it, to never have a problem with structural wise to hold that weight up. So anyway, EMP is a serious threat, and anybody that doesn't think so needs to really start looking into what an EMP can do and what countries have the ability to produce one. So North Korea has threatened a dozen times about it. Russia's threatened at some point in time. China. I mean, come on, guys. There's a lot of countries out there that don't like the United States. And with the threat of an EMP, you can destroy all modern things with that and basically cripple the country, whichever country it is. Now, our country has the ability to strike back, and everybody knows it, and therefore they don't, they don't want to cause that problem. But at some point in time, somebody's going to do it. And if you don't believe it, go back and look at history. Mankind has never created a weapon that they didn't use. So the atomic bomb was created, dropped on Hiroshima, and it was created, and everybody says, oh, we're not going to use it, but they did. There's not a weapon out there that's ever been built that has not been used at some point in time. And EMPs have been around a long time. You can hit this country with an EMP and cripple the country to where if you wanted to take over the United States, all you've got to worry about is the people. And yes, we'd put up one heck of a fight, but the fact of the matter is, the only chance they've got is if they level the playing field. So do your research on it. If I can help you with any questions on how you can protect certain things, there are things out there that you can do. I'm going to show you my old truck again. See the paint? Bought it that way. But anyway, there are things you can do to protect your vehicles from an EMP. I actually want to get a metal carport and completely close 3 sides of that in, and then put a roll-up door on the other end, so it would be completely enclosed in a metal enclosure, whatever vehicle I wanted, and it would be protected in that building. But that's another one of those things. Okay, can you afford it? Can I afford it? When is it going to happen? Because I've got 100 other projects that I need to get done. So anyway, and they all cost money. So have y'all checked the price of groceries lately? The state of Georgia, which is where I am in southwest Georgia, stopped the sale of all poultry in the state. You can't sell poultry at live poultry, okay, not what's in the store. Live poultry, you can't sell fertilized eggs, all because they're worried about the Asian flu or the bird flu that's in the states around us. We don't have any documented cases in the state of Georgia. So now poultry prices are fixing to go up because Georgia produces over 30% of the United States poultry. So now those prices are fixing to go up because they're taking a hit now where they can't produce it. And what they do have, once it's gone, what are these people, hundreds of thousands of people that work in the poultry industry going to do? I mean, I got a buddy that's got over 100 chickens. I've said it before. He buys, raises, and sells them at auctions. And now he's sitting on over 100 chickens that he's having to feed that he can't take to the auction and sell. What can he do? You know, what you gonna do when the price of chicken is as high as a ribeye? Just saying. The best way to defeat an enemy is to hit them while they're down. And with the prices of everything going up, it seems to me we're already being crippled a little bit. It's just one little bitty scratch at a time. Eventually that scratch is gonna go through. So y'all think about that. I got a skeeter follow me, but anyway, I didn't intend for this video to be this long, so I'm gonna get off of here. But guys, I do appreciate you. If you value the stuff that I try to put out on my channel, if I help you in any way, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It helps me grow this channel tremendously. If there's anything I can do for you, help you with anything, send me a message. Go to your about page. It'll tell you what my email is. And, you know, if I can help, I will, whatever it is. And like I said in my last video, guys, suicide is a very, very terrible thing. And it may end the pain for the person that does it, but it does not end the pain for the family and friends of the person. So that pain continues on, plus the daily struggle of everyday life. So if you are or know someone that's thinking about that or talking about that, please get them somewhere where they can talk to somebody and get some help. I'm here 24/7. I don't care. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter to me. My email's there. Send me an email. If you've got my number, call me. Send me an email. If you need my number just because you want to talk sometime, I'll give it to you. Fine. So doesn't matter. Suicide is a terrible thing, and it does not solve a problem. It just creates more of it. So anyway, guys, remember the two things I always tell you. Jesus loves you, and so do I. Y'all be safe. Have fun with your family.